Welcome you to the show. We have the great Ira from Staten Island on the phone lines here. Ira, what have you been up to, man?
Trying to stay safe and healthy, but thank goodness, been getting out to jet camp, and it feels good to get out there after
So
two years.
you've been going this year. That's good.
Yes, that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. I've been going. I think today was my eighth practice. I think I got a couple more this week, and then they go to Green Bay for a week, and then hopefully I'm going to be at that Packer game, and then they have some two joint practices the last week of August that are open, and then that's it. And camp's real quick. It's amazing. It starts and you blink your eye, it's over.
Oh yes, this we have played the Giants this Saturday. I'm sure we're looking forward to that.
Yes, they always look forward to that, and especially the big story is Zach Wilson, and I listened. We were both thrilled that they drafted him. We wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
I've been impressed with a lot of his skill set. It's just right now I think he's struggling because I just think the speed of the game and I guess absorbing everything as a rookie. I just guess there's some hiccups, but he's going to have to work his way through it. And I would have been a lot happier if they had brought in a veteran quarterback to help him along. I know they got Josh Johnson, but I don't really think he's the answer. But we'll see. I'm anxiously waiting to see what he could do against the Giants Saturday night.
I am too. There's something that I don't agree with the media is that they're giving him a lot of flack already. And where was this flack when Sam Darnold was making all these mistakes his rookie year and in all these camps? I feel as though we need to give Zach Wilson a little more time. I'm talking maybe 2 to 3 years like they gave Darnold before we start giving him negative criticism.
Well, yeah, that's a great point you bring up. And I think a lot of that has to come from, I think a lot of them were on the fence about them trading Sam. And, maybe they're kind of building up ammunition to say that they were right. I respect their opinion, but, we both agreed that it was time to move on from Sam. He needed to change the scenery. Now, I will say this, the early week 1 or 2 weeks of camp with Donald, he did look ahead of the curve than Wilson looks right now. Mm-hmm. But I just think, once again, I think Donald at his best is going to be a middle of the road to average quarterback. I just think Wilson's ceiling is much, much higher because of a lot of the skill sets that you see. Unfortunately, you just don't see it right now because I think he's swimming.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I feel as though that it's time. It was time to move on. We've said that in the past with Zach Wilson. Now, finally coming into camp here. How did you feel about how long it took to get the deal done with the Jets signing his rookie deal with the first year here? Now that he's drafted.
I wasn't thrilled about it. Missing the first 2 days, basically they were walkthroughs. It's really not a big deal. Didn't miss much, but you draft somebody with the second in a draft, and then you have 3 months to get this done. It shouldn't have came to that, but listen. Thank goodness you only missed 2 days, and like I said, they were basically walkthroughs, so it's really not that much of a big deal.
No, I think they really need to give him a chance. As soon as the green and white game happened, they were giving him all the criticism in the world when he threw 2 interceptions. And then you have to think about all the things that are going around him as well, not just from what he's doing on the field, but you have to hear about all the backlash from what his mother's doing on social media.
That's a great point, and I'm not thrilled about it. I'm not on social media, but I can't avoid not reading the newspaper, so I do see the stories. I don't know what's going on lately, but hopefully during the season, hopefully be quiet and let the kid grow up in New York. It's hard enough, coming from I guess Utah and coming over here, and it's a big adjustment. Was he 21 or 22 years old, and coming to the big lights of New York, the bright lights, but. When you have your mother out there putting stuff on social media, it just, come on, Mom, let me do my job.
Now, since you've been at the practices, have you had the chance to meet with Zach Wilson? I'm going to assume that you have.
No, actually,
wow.
you can't. No, because of the COVID protocols
Okay.
to the NFL. Yeah, no, I do have access to certain areas, but I'm not allowed in the building, which is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these different tiers that, I mean, there's really no interactions. Unless you're a family member, you really can't interact with the players. I did get a chance. I was introduced to Salah. I got to speak to him for a couple of minutes. But, besides that, there's really no interactions with the players.
How does he seem? I'm going to assume that he seems way better than Adam Gase did, because I think Salah brings a whole different presence to the team, even though that he is lax. I read that in the newspapers this week. He just takes notes down in the notepad. He's not the type of coach that just yells at these players like Judge for the Giants.
Well, no, two different approaches, and I'm not going to say either one of them can't work. You could be successful both ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Salah has a different approach, and listen, I don't know what goes on inside the building. Maybe he reads them the riot act then, but I don't think he does. I think he respects them as men and as professionals, and I've seen it on the field. I think he has a certain persona. He carries himself well. And when he walks over to a player, when he has to teach him, he teaches him. And when he has to pat him on the back because he made a good play, he does that too. Mm-hmm. So, all in all, I think he takes everything in. And we're going to find out real soon Saturday night. I know it's a preseason game, but like you just said, two different approaches. One's running gases and doing push-ups when you make a mistake. The other guy just points out and says, listen, this is the way you got to do it. We're going to see real early which one of these might be the right approach.
I think both approaches, and even Salah's approach, I think it's better than Gase. I think that's already guaranteed.
Oh, there's no two ways about it. I mean, they could have hired you and I, and people would have been excited after coming off a Gase. And I see, I was talking to a friend, and she used to work for the Jets many years ago. And she brought up a good point that, Salah's been kind of reeling the fan base's expectations in with some of his quotes about players or, where they're at. And I just think coming off the Gase era, I just think we're all just so excited. But, realistically, this is a 2-year plan. I mean, you have to keep that in mind. It's exciting to have a lot of good, young players, speed at the skill position set. A lot of guys to look forward to and growing with, but you have to keep the expectations realistic. I mean, if they win 6 or 7 games and a quarterback plays well, to me, that's a very successful season.
I agree with that. Did you hear about Adam Gase, where he got his next coaching job? I believe it was at a high school.
Did he really?
Yes.
Oh my God! Oh, that's pretty amazing. That is amazing. But nothing against the guy. It was just, I don't know how he had success in Miami making the playoffs, and he just bombed out here. I mean, I know, the talent around him last year wasn't that great, but I mean, he really was a bad coach, for the Jets, and it's. But I've turned that page. I try not to think about it because it was just 2 horrendous seasons.
They were unwatchable at times, similar to what the Mets are turning into now. And that's why I'm so happy to talk about the Jets here tonight. It's a break from watching my Mets or even hearing about the Knicks news. It's been rough, but the Knicks, I feel as though, have a bright future, and the Jets are hopefully slowly turning into a bright future here. I think they made some very great draft picks this year. I think Elijah Moore is a complete steal. If you watch this guy in camp, how fast he is, and I think this guy's an absolute steal in the draft.
I agree. I think Elijah Moore has Pro Bowl potential written all over him. He has to stay healthy, of course. And but to be quite frank, I think he's the best player on the roster right now as a rookie.
I agree.
I mean, he has to do it in the games, practice. Games are real. But I don't think this guy's going to have any problem transitioning, into a regular season game and being an impact player. And another guy to keep an eye on is Michael Carter, the running back from North Carolina. At times he looks like he could be a real game breaker. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. And, defensively, a lot of these young corners and, they drafted a couple of safeties to be linebackers and linebackers to be safety. And there's a lot of athleticism with these young players that Salah's working with. And, I kind of understand what he's doing. They're fast. They're interchangeable parts. And I think once they start learning the system and getting experience playing in a real NFL game, I think we're going to have something to work with.
I agree with you on that. I think that they did draft some young, talented corners. I think Michael Carter out of Duke was one, and it's kind of funny that there's two
Yep.
Michael Carters on the team. And actually, if you watch some of the replays, Michael Carter from North Carolina actually outbeat him when he was running his play in college when they were playing against Duke.
Oh, that's yeah. I have seen that. There's who else? I'm not going to pronounce his name right. Nazardine, the kid from Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he's going to take over that outside linebacker spot from Blake Cashman.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, I think today we're getting a lot of run with the ones today, and I think by the time they play the Packers, I think he's going to be the starting outside linebacker.
I think so, and I think we can kiss Richard Sherman goodbye if we knew the news.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate, but
yeah.
You know what? I don't need him. They got Pinnock from Pittsburgh. I don't know if he'll be a practice squad player or if he'll work his way on the roster. They got Eccles. I want to see what these kids could do in a real game, because I do think that the front seven. This is probably. I look at John Abraham. Carl Lawson's been an absolute beast. We've yet to talk about him.
Yes.
I mean, this is the best edge rusher that I've seen since John Abraham. And I look at that line. It was Sean Ellis and Abraham. I forget who was in the middle. I guess different guys. Shane Burton comes to mind. But just and then you go back to the Marty Lyons group. I mean, this defensive line has the potential to be, that good. I mean, I think they're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to stop the run, and they're going to take pressure off the secondary because they're going to hit the quarterback.
Oh, I think they're going to make a huge impact on the field. They also added Vinnie Curry in free agency, and you can't forget about Quinnen Williams, of course, who had a big year last year.
That's right, and then he wants to get a contract extension next year. So, he's going to definitely be highly motivated to play. I think that foot's pretty much healed. I think the expectations of him to be ready for that joint practices in Green Bay and in the Green Bay game. And, the safety position, I didn't like the way they handled May, but it is what it is. But right now, between Joyner and May, that's a pretty good safety tandem. So I think all in all, it's a good group. I mean, it's a tough schedule. It's probably going to be a shaky start early on. They got a real hard schedule. But, I think as the year goes on and these young players get experience, they're going to start putting up some wins. And I think they'll probably have a better second half of the season than first half.
Do you see a resolution coming between the Jets and Marcus Maye? Because when we last spoke, I know that we thought that the contract extension would be handled by July, and it hasn't happened. I read in the papers that he may pull a page out of the Jamal Adams book because that's his good friend, and he went to Seattle, as we all know that story as Jet fans. Do you think there's going to be some resolution where Marcus Maye and the Jets get a deal done?
Well, it can't be done until after the calendar year because the window's closed. But I think that ship has sailed. I hope I'm wrong. I like Marcus Maye. He's a nice guy. He's a leader. But I just think Joe Douglas doesn't value investing big money in the secondary. I think he, however he spreads out his cap and allocates money for each position, I think he goes heavy on both sides of the line. You can't argue that. You got your quarterback, you got your edge rusher, you got receivers, you got tackles. Well, how much really more could you invest in secondary? So I think that's the way he kind of allocates his money, and it kind of fits Salah's system because look at San Francisco. They got ravished by injuries last year, but he kept on going with second and third stringers and just rotating them in and out. And that defense didn't miss a beat last year in San Francisco.
No, it didn't. We still have a question mark at the tight end position. I'm hearing that there's people calling in still on radio stations saying that we should give Chris Herndon a chance. Ryan Griffin could possibly get another chance here, and we can't forget about the addition in the offseason of Tyler Kroft.
Yeah, Kroft's he's been up and down. I mean, I didn't like the signing.
I didn't either. I agreed with you on Hunter Henry. That's something that they should have handled it right away. But now we'll be facing him when we play New England. That'll be great.
right, of course, and hopefully we could cover him. But yeah, the tight end position is a little shaky right now. From like I said, you still got another week and a half of camp pretty much left. Herden really hasn't shown much more than what I've seen. I mean, really, nobody's extinguished themselves, really. So I guess Ryan Griffin's probably the most solid guy they got in that group right now.
Mm. I guess we're going to have to roll with him. I hope he can catch some passes, unlike last year. Let's get back to that year when he was catching all the balls in the world from Sam Darnold.
I don't know what happened. I mean, they gave him an extension, in the middle of the year. He came on, unfortunately got hurt. But to be quite honest with you, I really haven't seen. He hasn't stood out. Really, none of the tight ends have stood out in camp at all. It's just something I guess they're going to have to address next year. But the good thing is, it's going to be interesting to see how, if LaFleur knows that he really can't get much production out of the tight end, and you do have to use him, but you wonder if he'll run more like either 4 or 5 wide receiver sets and, kind of get away from a tight end, except for blocking. Maybe that's how he approaches it.
I think Mims is going to have to make a big leap this year too.
I think Mims is in trouble. I know, there's different views here, but I mean, to me right now, he's, I don't know, 5th to 6th, maybe at best, because really in no particular order, you have Davis, you got Elijah Moore, Crowder, and you got Keelan Cole. And those are your top 4, however you want, it doesn't matter 1 through 4, those are your top 4. Then at that 5th and 6th spot, man, DJ Montgomery's looked good. Braxton Berrios has looked good. Vincent Smith has looked good. And the one thing that they have going for them is that they play special teams and Vince doesn't. And, if he's going to be slotted, in that number, I don't know. I just don't see a role. I really don't. If you can't play special teams and you're the 5th or 6th receiver, how are you going to contribute?
I see your viewpoint. I really do with that. I think you're right. I think he's going to drop this year on the draft charts, but he's got on the charts for the depth position more so. But I think that he's going to have to make a big leap. If he can't produce, then he's going to be off this team. It's really unfortunate because he had a high stock going into this team. Everyone thought that he was going to be the number 1 receiver, but it was not until this free agency when we picked up Corey Davis. And you were happy about that. How did you feel about Keelan Cole?
I didn't realize he was as good as he's shown. He's surprising me in camp, and that's why I put him in probably that 4th spot ahead of Mims. He has more reliable hands. I mean, he doesn't have the speed and the athletic size. I mean, not that he's small, but Mims is 6'3", 215 with big hands, and he can make plays, but it's just. He's been dropping balls. He doesn't seem to have the complete route running tree, established. And he don't play special teams. So,
no.
But there's politics involved. He was a 2nd round pick. It's going to be interesting to see what Douglas does because the players and the coaches, they know what's going on. And if Douglas keeps Mims because he was a 2nd round pick, and he really doesn't improve this next 2 weeks. And then they cut, some other receiver who really deserves to make the team. Douglas is going to lose some credibility, from the coaches and players because they see what's going on.
I couldn't agree more with you on that. I think I really do. And just thinking about it now, it's insane how much his stock has went below here from when we drafted him. But just thinking about this offensive line, they made some great additions in the offseason. I feel as though this line is one of the best in the NFL when healthy.
It could be right up there. I mean, McGovern, I'm still not completely sold on him, but, they are saying that he fits better in this outside zone blocking scheme. You read about it. I mean, Barrett Tucker, he's got some type of pectoral injury going on right now.
Morgan Moses was a great pickup.
Morgan Moses was a no-brainer. I mean, let me tell you, when they line up and you see Moses on one side, he might be, I think he's taller than Beckham, to be honest with you. I mean, just like I call them the Twin Towers. You got these two outside tackles, and then once Vera Tucker gets back, and Feeney's been filling in fine for him. So except for the right guard spot, Ben Roten, he's average at best. So it's a good group. But what's good about it is that they're getting a lot of reps together, which they didn't get last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to come together quicker than the line has over the previous years. And I think you are right. I think once they get going, they're going to really try to establish the run and try to take pressure off of Zach Wilson. And if that line could live up to the what we both think they can be, it'll make it a lot easier for Wilson.
What are your expectations for this Saturday against the Giants? Do you think that we come out with the victory?
Well, that's tough. I haven't followed the Giants. Yeah, you know what? I'm always optimistic. I'm going to say yes. I think the Jets defense will play well enough to somehow make it easier for the offense to score points, and I think the Jets will pull out a win.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope, because this is the battle for the Snoopy Bowl trophy.
The Snoopy Bowl. We don't want any quarterbacks like Mark Sanchez got put in the fourth quarter to get his shoulder wrecked.
Thank you, Rex Ryan.
Right, which changed the course of Jet history at that point.
I think that play has led us to where we are now, if you really think about it.
It has. Because if you recall, Idzik was trying to force Geno Smith down Rex's throat.
Mm-hmm.
Mark was struggling to get his career back on track. And, it all came crashing down when Mark wrecked his shoulder in the fourth quarter. And and you know how crazy that game got? Because Rex and Coughlin, it was Coughlin at the time,
mm-hmm.
they're going at each other like they're playing this like this is a real game. And it's late in the game, and the Giants, I forget it, they were in the red zone at some point. The clock didn't have too much time left on it. And instead of going for the touchdown on fourth down, and either you win or you lose a preseason game, Coughlin decides to kick a field goal, and they go into overtime. And I'm sitting there with my wife. I can't believe we're sitting here watching a preseason football game, and this coach on the other sideline decides to kick a field goal to put it into overtime and play more.
That just goes to show you the rivalry, that even though they said it isn't a rivalry because we're not in the same division or conference, there is a rivalry. It really is.
Of course there is. There's no two ways about it.
No, there is.
Now, Giant Jet games, I don't care what's on the line. It always means something.
Yeah, that play has really led to where we are now, the rough years with Geno Smith, then we had the Fitzpatrick years, and then McCown came here, Hackenberg, Petty, all to where we're at now.
I know. Well, I in my heart, and I guess I'm hoping, I think we have the answer. Mm-hmm. It's just going to take time. I've watched him enough in practice, and I just see he's coming along a little slower than I hoped, but no fault of his own. I mean, he's gotten a lot thrown at him with no veteran leadership to help him. The Nats situation's a tragedy that didn't help. And we're just going to have to, go along for the ride and accept the ups and the downs. And, I do believe November, December, he'll be playing better football than he'll be playing September, October.
The main thing is to see progress made throughout the year. I don't think that we're going to be seeing the playoffs this year. I think this will be 12 years now, I believe, since we haven't made the playoffs last. But I just want to see progress. As long as there's progress, and then next year we can hopefully talk about playoffs. But how ironic is it that in the first week we play against Sam Darnold and the Panthers in Carolina?
I know. It's like, you can make a movie out of it, right? It's really unbelievable. As long as everything stays status quo, my wife and I are going down there. We're going to see the game, and it's going to be. Imagine the build up that week to that game, and it's going to be amazing if the Panthers win, and if Sam outplays that. On sports radio, you're going to get all these Donald support is, oh, well, I told you, we should have kept them and build around them. We got a bust. We shouldn't have drafted Wilson. I mean, I could hear the calls now. So, but it's you got to look at the big picture, and I think Salah and Douglas are on the same page. I think they're really putting together a good team, but it's just going to take time.
Mm-hmm. This will be the Darnold revenge game, and I couldn't agree with you more on the callers in the radio station. I just don't get all the Darnold support and the media, and they're really brainwashed by this guy because they did not give him the flack when he was struggling like Zach Wilson is right now. They did not. It was a love fest with him all the time, and even like when you saw during the draft, when they were about to draft Zach Wilson, Mel Kiper and all these guys, oh, I can't believe that they were in disbelief that the Jets even got rid of Sam.
That's right. Well, Daniel Jeremiah, who I really, I respect, what he does, and he was sold on Zach Wilson,
mm-hmm.
and listen, I go by my eyes see, and then I listen to a professional like him, and that's what brought me into it. I saw him play a couple of college games. I was very impressed, and then the whole process started with the draft and. All the workouts, and it led to this. I'm thrilled to have him. It's just, it's just the game needs to slow down for him,
mm-hmm.
and once it slows down, then I think he'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to take a while, but I think we're going to get there. And I think that we shouldn't rush him at all, because then if you rush him, then you get incidents like Geno Smith and these quarterbacks that come in as rookies and they don't pan out. You got to give him time and not put the pressure on his head, especially from the media. The media really is a disservice to these New York quarterbacks, especially from the Jets.
Oh, of course they are. And like I said, I may be repeating myself, but, if it was me, I would have had a veteran quarterback,
mm-hmm.
Whoever it might be that, what, if the kid's having a rough summer, he doesn't have to start week one.
No.
I know that's old school thinking, you get picked first or second or third in the draft, pretty much in today's NFL, you start right away, but correct me if I'm wrong, Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Mahomes all sat their first year.
They did.
So if Zach Wilson had to sit 4 or 6 weeks this year, it wasn't really going to be that much of a big deal. But, the Jets took a different approach, and let's just hope that the light comes on quicker than we think.
Mm-hmm. There were rumors, if you think about it, that they were going to bring in Nick Foles possibly, I was reading, but that never happened.
Yeah, you know what? There was a lot of chatter about that. I was hearing it. I was buying into it. But you would think at this point, you think it would have been done already
mm-hmm.
if it were going to happen. I mean, if you listen, maybe Douglas is playing a great game of poker and he's going to shock us all and bring in some veteran. But I don't see what good it's going to do at this point because, how are you going to learn a playbook and get on the same page with everybody else? See, my biggest concern is that, let's say Zach struggles the first month,
mm-hmm.
and it gets to a point where, okay, you know what? It'd be best for this kid to sit a couple of weeks. There's nobody there to put in.
No.
See, if you remember Sam's first year, now he hurt his foot in the middle of the year in Miami. He had a legitimate injury, but if he had to play, he was able to play the following week.
Mm-hmm.
But they used that as an excuse for him to sit because he was struggling.
That's right.
But they had Josh McCown to go in there and kind of hold the fort down for 2 or 3 weeks. And then when Sam came back, he played a lot better.
He did.
But the Jets don't have that luxury right now. You can't put Zach Wilson on the bench and tell him to learn from Mike White, who's the backup quarterback right now. I mean, Josh Johnson's really not the backup quarterback.
No.
So, and James Morgan, I guess he'll be on the practice squad at best, I would think.
Mm-hmm. And you bring up that year. This was actually the year where we thought maybe this was his rookie season, actually, because McCown was serving as his mentor. That's right.
That's right. That was Sam's rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
And he did, and to his credit, when he came back, after, I guess after the foot supposedly was healed and more importantly, his head was straight, he came back and he finished strong at the end of the year.
He did.
And, we thought we had something, but it just never panned out. And like I said, the Jets, they just don't have that this year. So it's going to be sink or swim with Zach. And like I said, just hopefully he's going to learn from his mistakes. He's going to have his ups and downs. And slowly as the season goes on, he's just going to get more and more comfortable playing in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm looking forward to the upcoming games. Football is back, and hopefully the Jets are watchable this season. I can't wait to see Zach Wilson progress. But how are you otherwise, Ira? How is everything with the family, everything? And I know everything with COVID out here is still going crazy. It's going away. You have the Delta variant still out here that's apparently blowing up everywhere still.
I know, it's kind of scary. I mean, thank God everybody on my side of the family, everybody's good, everybody's healthy, and we're very fortunate. But you still have to take your precautions, and people got to do the right thing. And it's kind of, I was at the stadium for the scrimmage Saturday night, and it was great to be back there. It was also weird, among 20,000 people. But this Saturday night is going to be really strange because I think they're going to get 40 to 50,000 people at that game.
I think so.
And once again, I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I think what's going to happen here, I think by opening week one, I think, at least at MetLife, I have a feeling you're going to have to show either you're vaccinated or a negative test. And it wouldn't shock me if they mandate to wear masks, unless the numbers go down over the next 2 weeks.
It's getting scary out here again. If you look at the numbers, it's just right back where we were last year with the cases. If you look around the country, it's insane how much this is blown up again.
I know. Well, like I said, I don't want to get into it, but you got to get vaccinated, man.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to get rid of this thing. It's the thing to do. I respect people's opinions why they don't want to, but I think at this stage of the game, the numbers and the science don't lie, and I think I think that's what you have to judge by.
Mm-hmm. If you want to get back to normal life where we don't have to wear a mask and not worry anymore, I think it's best that we get vaccinated. It's going to come to it because if you don't get vaccinated, it's going to start mutating even more, and you're going to see all these variants, and we're going to be dealing with these things for various years to come. And I'd like to put an end to this at the end of this year.
Well, I would like to put an end to it a lot sooner than that.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting. The Jets, they're supposed to play Atlanta in London.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'll be stunned if that game takes place in London. I just don't see it.
There may not be London games this year. That's the thing too.
I don't think so. I don't think the Dolphins and the Jaguars are going to be playing in London also. And how ridiculous was the NFL? I mean, it's one thing. Okay, you're sending the Jets and Atlanta over there. Maybe you want to send the Packers and the Eagles, but you take two teams that basically, I think it's a Jaguar home game.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins could make a day trip. They could just get on a bus and drive 3 hours and go up there and play the Jaguars and return.
They could, yeah.
To London to play the
game. These are crazy times, and we just got to take it day by day and just make sure that we stay safe.
That's it. Stay safe. Be grateful for what you have, and respect other people. And hopefully, the next time we talk, maybe Zach Wilson, the light will be on a little better, and maybe the numbers will be down. And looking forward to an exciting Jets season.
I am too. Ira, I want to thank you for calling into the show. You're always welcome. I'm sure we'll be talking very soon, and maybe after the first week, we'll have you call in again so we can go over the results, and then from there, we'll keep on going.
That sounds great. Look forward to it, and stay healthy, man.
Yes, Ira. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your night, all right? And go Jets.
Go Jets. You got it.